There's been a lot of debate about decentralised provision of water services, water smart communities. We're already seeing examples of that. I think we're going to see more and more of them. There's some regulatory challenges that need to be worked out in order to bring that to life. There's the challenge of who actually manages that system and providing a bit of planning as opposed to one community that's beautiful and green, but maybe not as affordable as another. So how do you manage affordability issues, system issues? But I think we'll see a lot of that. I think the other thing we're going to see more of is a convergence between electricity, water, telecommunications and other utilities. People are really looking at smart cities or smart communities, smart villages, resilient villages. A resilient city or a resilient community is one where people experience their community, they interact with it, they interact with each other, they potentially work in their community, they work a lot more from home, and they then make sense to be working with a single utility that's providing overall services and thinking about your overall amenity, as opposed to speaking with your water utility for your water and sewage bill, but they don't understand your electricity costs and when you're using your air conditioning or when you're irrigating your lawns outside and how to manage that. The sensors aren't integrated together. They're not thinking about the fountains and the rivers that exist in your area and your amenity around that, because that's another department altogether. They're not managing the stormwater effectively. So I think in the future we're going to see much more of these communities that are actually designed on a holistic basis, and there are already some fantastic examples. So there's the science park in Western Sydney that's being looked at as on a holistic basis. There's the new Ginninderra developments where I live in Canberra that Cyro's looking at as an experimental smart city, and there's some great individual examples in Adelaide of smart city and of water smart city approaches. So, this is one of these key questions. Do you disrupt yourself or do you wait to be disrupted? And what's the role of a utility in that situation? There was a lot of talk about governance today and a governance challenge around this, and who's trying to own the planning challenge, who's trying to own that governance challenge, who has the resources to manage that, and how could we accelerate this change? So what are you seeing at the moment? You're seeing at the moment water utilities that are looking at changing their paradigm from being a plumber to a planner, to being more customer focused. But in many cases, have a lot of people that are plumbers. There's a lot of cultural change to go through there. You've got the traditional private sector utilities that have been used to providing plumbing services, but you now have a few agile private sector companies, some of them wrapped within some very big developers, that are looking at the customer solution instead. You've got new energy companies or energy/telecommunication companies that are looking at how could they provide household-based or small-based community solutions, so they could be disrupting that. Or do you disrupt yourself? Sydney Water, for example, is looking at, for Western Sydney, do they be the planner instead of the deliverer? Planning authorities are looking to infrastructure bodies to do the business cases for how to build the case for an integrated, healthy, urban amenity-based growth solution for their cities. And when you look on an integrated basis, then you have sufficient resources to address that challenge. I think a big question is how quickly can we accelerate to meet those challenges.